How to make hard cider, technically apple wine. Hard cider, in its basic form, is nothing more than apple juice that's fermented. If you go to the store and look in your beer section and find hard cider, that's typically relatively low alcohol and not very sweet. In my opinion, not all that good. I'm going to teach you how to make it like I make it, like I learned to make it from my uncle and his father before him. It's a much sweeter, more balanced, technically an apple wine. It's very, very good. You cannot find this stuff in stores. It's worth learning how to do. You're going to need a couple things. You're going to need some kind of container to ferment it in that can become airtight. Most common is a 5-gallon glass carboy. If you don't know what a carboy is, think of those water machines with the inverted water bottle and some kind of spigot down below it. Those are carboys. They have a small opening at the top. You're also going to need this, or something similar, called an airlock. You have a rubber stopper here, and in the airlock here you fill it about halfway full of water, and during the fermentation process that lets the carbon dioxide come out without letting oxygen go back in. Now, to do this right, you're going to have to remember some principles here. 1. Start with ripe apples. There's a rule of thumb we always have: do not get your cider until election day, typically the first Tuesday in November. By then, not only do you have ripe, sweet apples, you have the sweeter varieties that are ripe by that time. Doesn't really matter what varieties you have, as long as you have good sweet cider to start with. Secondly, and this is very important, you have to have unpasteurized apple cider. You cannot go to the store and buy a bunch of gallons of apple cider, take them home, and hope to ferment them because they've been pasteurized. It just will not work. Trust me, you have to find a cider mill, and you have to go talk to the owner and say, look, I want to make some hard cider. Can I get some unpasteurized juice? They'll hook you up. Okay? So you get your cider, you put it in your container. Now you have to add some sugar to sweeten it up and balance it out. The rule of thumb is this: 1 pound of sugar per 1 gallon of cider. So if you have a 5-gallon carboy, you're going to add 5 pounds of sugar. My uncle and I make ours in a 50-gallon oak whiskey barrel. We add 50 pounds of sugar. Put it in, stir it up a little bit so it's dissolved as well as can be. Don't get too fussy about it. Just put it in. Nature will find a way to do this. Okay? If you feel like adding yeast, you may, but I would say add champagne yeast. You can get that from a winemaking shop, same place you can get these airlocks. Okay? But you don't really need to because, where we are, there's lots of apple trees, there's lots of bees, there's yeast floating around in the air, so a lot of natural yeast there. But if you want to add yeast, champagne yeast. Put it in, let it work. After a couple of days, it's going to start bubbling and foaming. You put this airlock on after a couple of days just to make sure it doesn't foam all over the place. Once you're done with that, put that on and let it set. After a couple of weeks, here's the final ingredient: honey. And here's the rule of thumb: after a couple of weeks, add 1 pound of honey per 5 gallons of cider. So again, if you have a 5-gallon carboy, you're going to add 1 pound of honey. My uncle and I, with our 50-gallon whiskey barrel, 10 pounds of honey. Put that in, put the stopper back on, let it sit. About the 1st of January, maybe the first week, second week, it'll be all done. It'll be cleared up. It'll be looking a lot like this. You can start drawing some out and drinking it. And it is, we call it the nectar of the gods. It is that good. Do not think that hard cider is some backwoods, hick, rustic farm wine. This stuff is very, very good and well worth the effort. So give it a try. It's a lot of fun. Cheers. Until next time, SasquatchCamp.com. Thank you.